Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Warrior Class Terran Jawbreaker from the Transformers Earthspark line from Hasbro. So we have this kind of plastic-free open packaging here. You can see the figure is really just tied onto this card. There's not really anything going on down below. I would assume the instructions are somewhere underneath. But yeah, he looks pretty cool. He transforms into a dinosaur. Now I have to admit I have not seen this episode yet, as I do not have Paramount Plus, so I've only seen the first season, the first 10 episodes. I guess technically it's season 2 or the second half of season 1, I'm not sure. But I think the new Terrans were introduced at the very end, but they hadn't picked alt modes yet. So it looks like this guy's getting a dinosaur alt mode, and hey, everyone loves dinosaurs. Plus he's bright orange, which is always fun, so I'm pretty excited about this. Some nice artwork here on the card, just kind of shows him using the gun here on the front. I'm not sure if that's a gimmick or something, or if it's just him using the gun. I don't know, there's an arrow shooting this way. So we'll see, we'll check it out. Pretty much it for the packaging. Have some standard product shots here on the back of the robot mode and the dino mode. Yeah, I'm excited for this one. I'm going to go ahead and get him out of the packaging here, and we'll take a closer look. Here is Jawbreaker out of the packaging. He is very orange, which I love. We don't get a ton of orange Transformers, but it is throwing my lighting off a little bit, so I apologize. But yeah, he is definitely a squat, bulky little dude, and I think that's really cool. I like it a lot, especially it makes sense for his alt mode, but he's just kind of built, you know, very kind of a bruiser, which I think is very cool. Head sculpt is great. Very nicely painted. Honestly, the whole figure is very nicely painted. I think the head sculpt looks really great, though. You can see the nice yellow eyes, a little bit of gold here for the horns, some dark gray up here, and then kind of a bluish silver for the face. Some nice paint down here in the abdomen with the gray and the red. Then we have some blue down here in the crotch, some more gray down here on the shins, and then we have the fists painted. This piece over here is painted gray. Over here, it's just kind of orange as part of the forearm, and there is a reason for that, which we'll get into in a moment. A little bit more gold over here on the shoulders. So, again, just a ton of paint, and for a Warrior class, I think that's really, really cool. It's actually just a really, really fun figure. I like it quite a bit. On the back here, you can see a little hollow in spots, kind of the back of the legs here, and then the abdomen. But for the most part, it's because there's joints or storage for the headpiece for the Dino mode, so it doesn't really bother me all that much. Articulation-wise, the head can swivel from side to side. It is just a swivel. There's no ball joint or anything, but we do have a ball joint here in the shoulder. Now, as you saw here on the back, there are these mushroom pegs here for these pieces, and sometimes when you're trying to move the arms around, those pieces will move around a little bit. You can see there's a tiny little like nub right there that's supposed to kind of slot in or peg into this piece here. It doesn't always work, especially on this side. This one moves around a lot. On mine, it's a little bit looser. So you just kind of have to hold this in place to get that ball joint. But, you know, pretty decent out to the side movement, can spin all the way around. So you have a nice bit of movement there. Ball joint for the shoulder. Ball joint again down here for the elbow. So a nice bit of movement there. Nothing in the wrist, and you do kind of have this like claw piece for the Dino mode hanging off the back, but it doesn't really get in the way or anything. Nothing in the waist. As you can see, this is one solid piece down here, but you do get really nice ball joints here in the hips. Kick really far out to the side, pretty nicely far forward, nicely far back. So good range of motion there. Nothing in the thigh. You do have 90 degrees in the knee, and then there's nothing in the foot or ankle or anything. These pieces here kind of act as heels in the robot mode. They're going to kind of flip out and fill in some empty space in the Dino mode. But the kind of from the knee down is one solid piece. But yeah, he's cool. I like him. Like I said, very short, very stocky. Let's bring in Studio Series Brawn. For a size comparison, you can definitely see he's about the same size, and we know this is kind of a smaller deluxe, so he's definitely a little bit on the shorter side. But again, he's got the width, he's got the bulkiness. He's definitely like a short, squat bruiser, and I like that. I think that fits the character as well. Now, again, I'm assuming it fits the character. I haven't really seen many episodes with him in it, but from what I remember, it definitely fits his character. But yeah, very, very cool. I like it a lot. I think the Warrior class in general has taken such a step up from Cyberverse because they don't have the goofy gimmicks. They're a little bit cheaper. This was 15 bucks, so they're not the full deluxe price of 20, which is already not the full deluxe price of something like Legacy, which is 25. So, you know, for a nice budget figure, I think they do a really nice job. The articulation's there, the paint applications are there. It's a good, fun figure. Now, his gimmick over here, he does have kind of a blaster built into the forearm, and all it does is it kind of pops up and then accordions out. So it's a little difficult to get going, but then once you get it, it just accordions out like this, and then he's just got this built-in blaster into the forearm. So this might not actually be painted. I think this is just cast in gray plastic. But either way, I mean, that is a fun gimmick that in no way gets in the way or hinders the transformation or anything like that. Cyberverse, you know, it would have been spring-loaded or something like that, and it would have hindered posability. Not the case here, and I really like that. Like I said, all of Earthspark's Warrior class have had little gimmicks or weapons like that, but they've been very nicely integrated, and they don't hinder any articulation, which is a big plus for me. I think that's very, very cool. So I'm loving this guy. Let's go ahead and get into his dino transformation. Alright, so first up, we're going to come to these little gray sections here, and these are actually dino hands, so we're going to kind of move them away and then flip them out. You just kind of have to unpeg them from those little nubs I showed earlier, and that will allow them to flip out front. Now, I guess technically you could have them deployed in robot mode if you wanted. Have kind of like little boxing hands or something like that. Kind of reminds me of like a kangaroo or something. It looks weird, but if you wanted, you could give him these little extra hands in robot mode. Next up, we're going to swivel the head around 180 degrees. The back of the head is a little hollow, as you can see, but it's really not that big a deal. Next up, we are going to come down to the feet, and we'll flip these pieces down. Come around to these pieces here at the elbows and rotate them 180 degrees, like so. Then we're going to flip out the dino head from the back here. And this is going to come around, and you can see that there's these little tabs right here, and they'll just kind of click into place. And then there's, like, the horns kind of nicely integrate. So, I mean, the back of the head is just kind of there in the throat of the dino, but it's not a big deal. It kind of blends in fairly decently. So now we're going to take the little tail piece here and flip this around as we start to bend these at the knee so that we can then get some clearance there. And then this little tab is going to just sit into this little spot right there. Very simply. Now, eventually, this is going to peg into here. Actually, I guess I can go ahead and do this now. Might be a little easier to do it this way. This will come up. It's kind of weird to find the right angle, but there we go. And then that sits there, and then using these mushroom pegs, we're going to swivel this around. That's probably why. This will flip around and stop right there, and you might just have to push these back down. The mushroom pegs will kind of pop it up a little bit, but the directions do have you swivel these around first, but I really find it easier to do it this way because trying to thread them through like these pieces here is a little bit more difficult, and I'd kind of rather just get that pegged in and have it pop up slightly and then just push it back down, because then you have a nice natural stopping point. You know this is supposed to stop when it hits the back of the foot there. And then you just bring this down, and then these little pegs right here will peg in right there. So that just pegs in like that. Do the same over here, and that just kind of secures them in place. And then there you go. There is our little dino mode. Dino mode looks pretty great. The head is very nicely painted. And again, there's just a lot of paint on these figures for $15. I feel like they really do justice in the paint. And I think the dino head looks fantastic. It's all the same kind of colors we've seen. Looking very nice. You have little ball joints here for the dino hands. Since this is kind of pegged into place, you can still utilize the elbow ball joint. And then you just have the little tail back here. Now, I will admit that the tail back here is a little dinky. I don't know why they didn't have a dino tail piece on each leg and then have them pegged together to make that a little bit more substantial. Maybe it just, I don't know, didn't work out design-wise, but it's kind of a tiny little tail back there. But it's not a big deal. Yeah, overall, I think this is a really fun little figure. I think the transformation's pretty great. Not really too much. You can see a little bit of hollow under here. You can kind of see the thighs, which would have been nice to cover that up. But, I mean, if you just have him in Dino mode here, I think it's perfectly fine. And I like the little bit of articulation that he has. Yeah, overall, I just think this is a really fun little Dino mode. I like it quite a bit. I like this guy a lot. Like I said earlier, the Warrior class has really been surprising me this year. They're fun little figures. They're a really nice price, good paint, good articulation. They have gimmicks, but they're not so intrusive that they hinder articulation or anything like that. I love the way he just has this little gun flip into the forearm and flip out. I think that's really, really fun. And plus, the Warrior class has been a great way to get some more characters out there, because the Deluxe class is usually pretty limited in the roster because they're doing a Build-A-Figure or something like that. So the Warrior class is just kind of a way to get more characters out there, because there are a decent amount of characters on this show, and I would love to see more figures. I want to see Soundwave, I want to see Wheeljack. You know, give us Warrior class figures for all these guys. And the Warrior class and the Deluxe class scale pretty well together, so it's just a nice way to kind of bolster the roster of characters from the show. So I definitely can't recommend this enough. I think the price is right. I think he's a fun little figure. I don't really have much to complain about. The only thing, like I said, I kind of wish that he had a little tail piece on both legs so that you could flip them both out and peg them together to give him a little bit bigger tail, because it does seem a little dinky. But that's a minor complaint, and that's really it. I think otherwise this guy is a ton of fun. I definitely recommend checking him out. I found mine on Amazon. I have not seen any new toys for I almost said Earthspark in stores at all, really. So I've just been kind of checking Amazon, and that's where I found this guy. So if you're looking for him, definitely check Amazon. But I'm assuming they should start to show up in stores fairly soon. I also don't know if we're getting more of the show eventually. Well, only time will tell with that. But it's been fun. It's definitely been more fun than I expected, and I've been really liking these figures. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks so much for watching.